Raynell is still shocked to learn that Ivel has someone special in his life and is unable to come to terms with the fact that she's not his number one girl. She begins to cry out of hilarious sadness after imagining a world where her blonde prince has left her alone to marry another woman. Of course, the Crow girl always has her imagination to come to her rescue, so she fantasizes about Ivel promising her that he'll never leave her alone. However, even her own mind plays tricks on her as the fake Ivel asks Raynell to become his child rather than his babe. This makes our hero cry a river of tears in a dramatic presentation, and she even gives herself the hashtag Crow in distress. Of course, all of this is just an unnecessary burst of emotions as the blonde prince simply presents the highly expensive necklace to the Crow girl and reveals that the special person in his life is in fact Raynell. Our hero is overjoyed to see this and cannot control her excitement now that she knows there's no other woman in her lover boy's life. The Crow girl celebrates her new present, but the giant necklace grows smaller and fits her perfectly. That's when Namuel reveals that Ivel had actually asked him to get a necklace that could adjust its size based on the person wearing it. The blonde prince states that he actually ordered for the necklace so that everyone in the palace would know how precious Raynell is to him. Our hero is over the moon and she showers her love upon her lover boy. But then Ivel tells Namuel not to show any further interest in his crow. The magician boy has no intention of making his prince upset, but Ivel still suspects something, so he asks Namuel what he wants. This leads to a slightly awkward conversation where Namuel reveals that he doesn't want the future king to think badly of him because it will not lead to a happy ending. Ivel doesn't have time to play games with Namuel, so he asks him to get straight to the point. Now, the magician states that his father asked him not to get into politics. Despite this, he still mentions how his father's wolf powers never awakened, and this was why he never even looked towards the direction of the imperial palace. He goes on to explain that he wanted to follow his father's advice but wasn't able to do so because of Llewellyn. It turns out that the third prince had actually forced Namuel to become a magician and serve under him. But this was simply because he viewed magicians as tools and would use them for his entertainment. Namuel does not want the future king to be a spoiled brat, which is why he's placing his bet on Ivel for now. All of this sounds good in theory, but the blonde prince has seen way too many examples of people being hungry for power. He asks Namuel how he can place so much trust in him, and even says that he might become like his brother after spending too much time as a king. Raynell is confused after hearing this, but figures that Ivel might be testing Namuel's faith with such words. The magician feels the same way because he knows that Ivel would never think in such a manner. Anyway, Namuel decides to offer the ultimate gesture of goodwill and presents a berry to Ivel. However, this is the same berry that Raynell had given her lover boy earlier, which helped awaken his wolf powers. Seeing this makes our hero panic, because her memories start to come back to her. She believes that in the original game, Namuel was the one who had helped Ivel awaken his wolf powers by giving him this exact same berry. Of course, this makes the Crow girl very anxious because she has already done this, and it makes her wonder if she has kicked off some kind of butterfly effect. Tensions run high, but Ivel knows what he's doing, so he asks Namuel to eat the berry instead. The magician does acknowledge that he has royal blood flowing through him, which means that he might be able to awaken his powers after eating the berry. However, he would much rather prefer to remain a magician rather than become an overpowered wolf. The blonde prince is more than impressed to see someone pass on the opportunity to eat the rare berry, so he acknowledges Namuel as a noble supporter. The magician wants confirmation from the blonde prince as to whether he is now a trusted aide, and Ivel proudly promises to fund him for anything he wants once he becomes the emperor of his kingdom. In return, even Namuel offers his prince all his abilities and knowledge and also asks him to speak in a more casual tone. He jokes that he might be of royal blood, but is nothing more than a commoner in front of the blonde prince. Ivel happily agrees to this, and then he has a look at the rare berry. He wonders who he should give this berry to because it has to be someone who can never betray him under any circumstance. He has to be careful, because he is playing with immense power over here, so his attention turns to Raynell, who is the only person worthy of his trust. This is a tricky situation for Ivel because he doesn't know how the berry will react to a crow, but at the same time, it makes him curious. On a completely different note, the Crow girl is still worrying about the butterfly effect she has kicked off. Then, in a hilarious sequence, she gets drawn to the berry and feels a strange aura take over her body. This leads Raynell to snatch the berry from Ivel and swallow it, even though he warns her that it might kill her. The Crow girl now has an overpowered berry inside her tummy, and it makes the blonde prince panic. He doesn't want to lose his Crow girl, so he hilariously opens her mouth and begs her to spit and not swallow. He promises to do anything the Crow girl desires, and then he has a panic attack. Ivel cannot stand the thought of losing Raynell because she is the only person who has ever shown him true love. The situation actually gets a little too dramatic, and then Ivel hugs Raynell, hoping for the best. However, after such an intense session, the only thing that our hero does is burp in Ivel's face. The blonde prince is a bit surprised by this, because a berry as powerful as this one should have brought out some kind of response. That doesn't happen to be the case, so Ivel can breathe a sigh of relief for now. He begs Raynell never to swallow anything so abruptly, and then the Crow girl comes back to her own senses. It turns out that she had actually passed out after eating the berry, but doesn't feel anything weird yet. Her body is also the same, so there's no reason for her to worry, apart from the possible timeline mess she created earlier. However, Raynell is actually a little disappointed because she wanted to awaken her own powers and become like a Godzilla version of a crow. She even thinks of a catchy name for her movie and calls it Crowzilla, The Revenge of the Bird of Death. However, this is no time to joke around, so she casually chills on the bed and wonders if she is actually the female protagonist of this story, alongside Ivel. There's always a calm before the storm, so Raynell's body starts hurting in a similar fashion to how Ivel's did when his wolf powers had awakened. The blonde prince is visibly concerned to see his crow girl in pain, so he pats her with love, but nothing seems to happen. The worst part is that Raynell isn't even transforming, which means her power is not coming to life. Basically, our hero just has an upset stomach and Ivel tells her that this is why she shouldn't just swallow anything she likes. Anyway, the blonde prince has to heal his crow, so he calls his wizard doctor to do his thing. However, the wizard says that there's nothing wrong with Raynell because her body is not reacting to his healing spells. Our hero is looking worse than a zombie, so Ivel can only think of one possible reason for her fever. He acts fast and tells his doctor to leave them alone. The blonde prince then sulks on the bed and blames himself for causing pain and suffering to Raynell. He believes he shouldn't have been too casual with the berry in front of his crow girl and wonders what's going to happen next. He can't really do anything now, but wait and watch what happens with Raynell, who is clearly not looking like she's having a good time. Ivel only feels worse with each passing moment and can't deal with the pain of seeing his trusted bird in such a state. He begs Raynell to wake up from her fever and even says that he'll allow her to play tricks on him for as long as she wants. Unfortunately, our hero doesn't open her eyes, so Ivel falls asleep next to her in bed. The scene suddenly shifts to a starry galaxy where we see an angel girl who is revealed to be Raynell. She takes a look at her hands and is shocked to see that they aren't crow wings. All of this makes her think that she has died from consuming the berry, and she is clearly upset with the way things have gone for her because she still wants to live. Our hero goes on a rant talking about how her life as a crow wasn't the best and also laments the fact that she didn't even do anything with her lover boy, other than a few hugs and kisses. This is not the end for Raynell as a giant flash of light appears in front of her and we see a bright sequence that is mixed with alternate images of a crow spreading its wings. This is a bit confusing for Raynell, but then she opens her eyes to a narrative voice that explains how a giant black bird ended up helping a wolf overcome his troubles and gain a new perspective. As part of their partnership, the bird would feast on corpses that were given some power by the wolf. This was to ensure that when such creatures would pass away, their bodies wouldn't cover the land. Basically, the corpses would not be a burden to the living as a result of this, and then the narrative text explains that the blackbird gave birth to smaller birds which would go on to be called crows. These crows would scatter pieces of their shells all over the world so that someday, their descendants would eat these pieces and awaken their inner powers. By now, we've gotten the hint that these shell pieces are in fact the power berries. After Raynell is given this explanation, she is hit with a burst of energy and then an intense sequence follows. We move back to the real world where Ivel is still by the bed, but then he wakes up to the sound of some fluttering wings. He tries to come back to his senses and wonders if Raynell is alright. But when he looks at the bed, he sees something he never would have imagined. We can see that Raynell has finally transformed from a crow girl to an actual girl and is sleeping peacefully in bed. Ivel is clearly shocked to see her and wants to know who this is because he's clearly never seen our hero in her human form. Ivel has to consider all possible situations, so he wonders if the crow girl is actually an assassin. However, after he takes a look at her soft hands, he realizes that can't be the case. More than anything else, it doesn't make sense for an assassin to sleep next to her target, but the most important thing is that Raynell is wearing the same necklace her lover boy had gifted her through Namul. It is this sight that makes the blonde prince wonder if this is actually his crow girl in her human form. Ivel places his hands on our hero's hair and comments that it feels exactly like his crow's feathers. He wonders if this transformation has happened because of the power berry. But then things get interesting when Raynell finally wakes up. She asks Ivel if it's time to eat and is quick to notice that she is rubbing her eyes with human fingers, and not crow wings. Our hero realizes that she is indeed a human now, but instead of hugging or kissing her lover boy, the first thing she wants to do is check out a mirror. Raynell is just as funny as a human, so Ivel has to calm her down and take her to his mirror. He lets the crow girl take a good look at herself and even smiles at her to reassure our hero of his intentions. Raynell is unable to believe what she's seeing because she has clearly gotten an amazing glow up from what she used to look like on Earth. With silky smooth skin and the hair of a crow goddess, Raynell wonders if this is because of the power berry she ate. Despite this, she is not sure if her power has awakened and feels frail in her body. More than anything else, she's actually upset because she doesn't have any of the strength she had gained from her time at the zoo lifting feed and handling animals. Ivel has no idea what his crow girl is talking about, but she continues to complain in a funny and cute fashion. She tries to look at the positive side because she has finally become a human after all the stress she had to go through as a crow. She is thankful that she doesn't have to go inside cages or eat smelly worms anymore. but she is also happy that she can finally get romantic with her lover boy in the way she had imagined. Ivel is right behind our hero and he looks at her with a charming smile, after which he asks her if she's done examining herself. Raynell is overcome with emotions and she is happy to finally be able to say whatever she wants to the blonde prince. She makes the most of her opportunity and rushes to hug Ivel out of relief. The blonde prince is a bit taken aback by this gesture, but Raynell doesn't care because she can finally call out his name as much as she wants. It takes a while, but the crow girl finally calms down and Ivel asks her if she's feeling better. Her eyes are hilariously puffy due to all the excessive and dramatic crying, so the blonde prince asks her why she was getting so emotional in the first place. He wants to know if it was because of this sudden transformation, but Raynell dismisses that suggestion. Our hero does a quick recap of everything that has happened with her right from when she had transformed into a crow in a fantasy world till this very moment where she is back to being a human, although in a much more beautiful form. Of course, this is not going to sound very pleasant coming from her mouth, because nobody wants to be told that they're a character in a game where their only purpose is to suffer for the sake of entertainment. Also, the story is a bit too long to explain, so Raynell decides against it. Instead, she comes up with another story and tells Ivel that she was scared because she had almost died from the power of the berry. To her surprise, the blonde prince says that he was also scared for her, and the world went dark for him the entire time he was by her side. He is relieved that not only has Raynell opened her eyes, but now she is able to talk to him as well. The charming prince brings out one of his playboy moves and pulls our hero into his arms. He is happy to have her by his side and even thanks her for making it through, safe and sound. As can be expected, this makes Raynell blush with excitement and she loses her mind. Our hero starts making weird noises and even feels dizzy from the rush of emotions. Ivel was charming enough to her when she was a crow, but now that she has a human perspective, all she wants to do is pounce on him and ravage him like a beast. Raynell tells us that these thoughts are only partly true, but we can safely assume what she's thinking. Our hero is a little insecure because Ivel is much better looking than she is, but the blonde prince thinks that she's feeling awkward because of their hugging position. He wants to know if he's making his crow girl feel uncomfortable, and then Raynell states that he's making her feel like an animal. Our hero must act fast, otherwise her heart will explode out of excitement, so she wishes to become a crow again just to feel calmer. Her wish surprisingly comes true, as Raynell instantly turns back into her crow form, much to everyone's surprise. Our hero is now crying in yet another comedy of errors as she wonders what has just happened to her, especially when things were going so well between her and Ivel. Now, Raynell starts flapping her wings in an erratic sequence, because she cannot believe that she's become a crow again. She wonders if this was all just a dream, or even worse, a trial run for her to become human. Since our hero loves to imagine dramatic situations, she thinks of her human body as a product which can only be purchased from the App Store at a premium price. After the excessively funny imaginings, Raynell wonders if she has to pay more cash in order to extend her time in the human body. She cannot control the disappointment anymore and starts to act crazy, hoping that she will get her body back. In the middle of this, Ivel does his best to keep her calm in this moment of truth. The blonde prince then consoles his crow girl and explains that she must have simply changed back into her bird form because of excitement. He even reassures her that she can freely become a human again, as long as she practices for long enough. This is intriguing for our hero, so her lover boy decides to give her a tutorial. He places Raynell on the bed and shows off his own transformation into a glamorous wolf. Ivel is graceful, even as a beast, and it makes Raynell give him a handsome new hashtag. Of course, the crow girl goes wild with joy and blushes through her black feathers. She comments that wolves are supposed to be scary and intimidating, but that isn't the case with Ivel, because he looks so good with his golden fur. This isn't everything though, because the wolf prince proceeds to lick Raynell's beak, which is as good as a kiss in beast language. Our hero reacts funnily to the gesture and it makes Ivel laugh, after which he turns back into his human form without any effort. He explains that this trick is quite easy to pull off, but Raynell doesn't agree with him at all. This is puzzling for the blonde prince. But our hero realizes that he is a genius who finds everything to be easy. Now, Ivel tries another trick and asks Raynell to think about becoming a human because he had thought about becoming a wolf. Our hero acts grumpy at first, and it makes the blonde prince wonder if he's doing this right. However, this trick works out because Raynell becomes a human again. She is amazed by this new development and Ivel soaks in the glory by saying it was easy all along. Now, the crow girl finally gets to munch on a luxury breakfast, and she has a blast with the yummy meal. She is clearly having the time of her life, because it's been a while since she's had human food. Ivel understands this, so he allows Raynell to take her time for now. The blonde prince notices that his crow girl is able to use her cutlery quite easily, so he asks her if she's done this before. Our hero realizes that she let her emotions get the better of her, because she is supposed to keep her past life a secret. However, she is able to act fast and tells Ivel that she managed to pick up on it by watching him eat. Raynell finishes her meal and makes sure to be more careful before revealing her human traits. Ivel needs to call a maid to clean up the meal, so he asks Raynell to turn into a crow for a moment. Our hero is able to pull off this transformation smoothly, and she celebrates her new powers while her lover boy gets the table cleaned by his maid. Raynell also realizes that there are certain advantages she has as a crow, and if she puts in the right amount of effort, then she can be an extremely useful person by utilizing both her forms. She lets her thoughts get the better of her and becomes a savage crow, thinking that Ivel wants to keep her human form a secret so that he can use her as his secret weapon. The maid leaves the room, and our hero becomes human again, but Ivel apologizes to her for hiding her true form. He goes on to ask his crow girl for a favor, and she already imagines becoming a crow in black, spying for her lover boy. Things take a much darker turn when Raynell imagines becoming a maid so that she can assassinate Llewellyn. But she also confesses that she'd much rather be a spy because killing people is scary. However, Ivel doesn't want any favors for himself, but rather, he wants his crow girl to look out for herself. Raynell is amazed that her lover boy doesn't want to make use of her powers. But Ivel is a noble man and he says that he doesn't want Llewellyn to get his hands on her. He explains that his brother has always tried to steal whatever he liked, so Raynell might not be safe in the palace while she's in her human form. Raynell is touched by Ivel's concern, and gets totally smitten when he pulls her close and promises to make this palace a safe place for his crow girl, regardless of her form. The blonde prince is too charming to resist, so Raynell also acts cute and tugs at his collars. She tells her lover boy that she wants to help him achieve his dream. Her words light up a spark in Ivel's eyes and he gives his crow girl a warm, tight hug. All of this is very nice and wholesome for both of them. But the sad reality is that the couple is being spied upon by Llewellyn through his mirror demon. The third prince laughs away and comments that this situation is even better than he had imagined. What evil plans does Llewellyn have in store for our hero? Like, share, and subscribe to find out in the next video. See you soon.